Lieutenant Jake Morrison stood in the briefing room with 11 other humans. The walls were made of metal and glass, showing the stars outside. Earth looked small from this space station. Jake had never been so far from home before, Commander. Lisa Campbell walked to the front of the room. She was a tall woman with short brown hair and serious eyes. She had been in space for 10 years and knew more about aliens than most humans. "Listen up, everyone," Lisa said. "You're going to a place called the Zephyrian Military Academy. It is on a planet far from here. The aliens there train soldiers from many different worlds. They have been doing this for 3,000 years. Jake looked around the room. There were 6 men and 6 women. All of them were soldiers. Some looked nervous. Others looked excited. Jake felt both. "The Zephyrians are very good at training fighters," Lisa continued. "They have worked with big, strong aliens and fast, quick aliens. They have never worked with humans before. You will be the first." Amy Rodriguez raised her hand. She was a medic from Texas. "What do they think about humans?" Lisa smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "They think we are weak. They think we break easily. They think we are like toys compared to the other aliens they train." Pete Williams laughed. He was an engineer from Ohio. "Well, they are about to learn something new." "That is exactly right," Lisa said. "Your job is to show them what humans can do. Not just for yourselves, but for all of Earth. If you do well, more humans will get chances like this. If you do poorly, they might never want to work with humans." Again, Jake thought about his home in Colorado. His family had been farmers for generations. They never gave up even when things got hard. Even when crops failed or animals got sick. They always found a way to keep going. The transport ship was big and silver. It had engines that could travel faster than light. Jake had never seen anything like it. The inside had rooms for sleeping and eating. There were windows that showed the stars rushing past like white lines. Kelly Green sat next to Jake in the main room. She was good with radios and computers. "Are you scared?" she asked. Jake thought about it. A little, but also excited. "We get to see things no human has ever seen before." "My grandmother always said that fear and excitement feel the same," Kelly said. "The difference is what you do with the feeling." The trip took 5 days. Jake spent time reading about the aliens they would meet. The Zephyrians were tall and had skin like crystal. They were very strong and very smart. They had been exploring space when humans were still learning to make fire. The Gorlaxians were even bigger than Zephyrians. They had thick skin and muscles like rocks. They could lift things that weighed as much as cars. The Nithari were fast and thin. They could run faster than any human car. The Krillians wore armor that was part of their bodies. Nothing could hurt them easily. "How are we supposed to compete with that?" asked Tony Martinez. He was a Marine from California. He had fought in 3 wars on Earth. "Maybe we do not compete," Jake said. "Maybe we do something different." On the 5th day, they arrived at Kepler 442b. The planet was bigger than Earth and had 2 suns. The ground was red and rocky. Mountains rose up like giant teeth. The air was thin, but humans could breathe it. The Zephyrian Military Academy was built into a mountain. It was huge, with towers and walls that sparkled in the sunlight. Jake had never seen anything so beautiful or so scary. A group of Zephyrians met them at the landing pad. They were 8 feet tall and moved like dancers. Their skin looked like it was made of clear blue glass. Jake could see light moving inside them like lightning. The leader stepped forward. When he spoke, a small device on Jake's belt changed his words into English. "I am Instructor Vextel. You are the humans." It was not a question. Jake and the others stood straight like soldiers. "Yes, sir," Jake said. Vextel walked around them slowly. Jake felt like a mouse being watched by a cat. "You are smaller than we expected and softer. Your skin looks like it would tear easily." "We are tougher than we look, sir," Amy said. "We will discover the truth of that," Vextel said. "Follow me." They walked through halls made of smooth stone. Other aliens were training in large rooms. Jake saw Gorlaxians lifting massive weights. Nethari ran through obstacle courses so fast they were just blurs. Krillians practiced fighting. With weapons that shot beams of light, all of them stopped to stare at the humans. Some pointed, others laughed. Jake heard one Gorlaxian say something to another. The translator turned it into English. They look like children's toys. Ignore them, Lisa had told them before they left. Show them with your actions, not your words. Vexthal led them to a room with 12 beds. This is where you will sleep. Training begins tomorrow at dawn. Our dawn, not your Earth dawn, that is in 6 hours. What kind of training? Pete asked. The same training we give to all warriors, Vexthal said. Physical fitness, combat skills, survival techniques, strategy and tactics. If you cannot keep up, you will be sent home. After he left, the 12 humans sat on their beds. The room was quiet except for the sound of wind outside. Well, Tony said, this should be interesting. Jake looked out the window at the alien landscape. 2 suns were setting, turning the sky purple and orange. Somewhere out there, aliens who could crush him with one hand were getting ready to train with him, but Jake was not worried. His family had taught him that being strong was not about how much weight you could lift. It was about how long you could keep going when everything seemed impossible. Tomorrow he would start showing these aliens what humans could really do. The alarm woke Jake at dawn. The sound was like metal scraping against metal. All 12 humans jumped out of bed and got dressed quickly. They had learned to move fast in the military. The training ground was a huge open space with equipment everywhere. There were weights bigger than cars, obstacle courses that reached into the sky, and machines that Jake did not recognize. Other aliens were already working out. Instructor Vexthal waited for them with 3 other Zephyrian trainers. Today you begin real training, he said. We will test your bodies and your minds. We will find your limits. The first test was strength. Jake watched as a Gorlaxian lifted a stone block that weighed 2 tons. The alien made it look easy. A Krillian punched through a metal wall with his armored fist. The hole was perfectly round. Humans, your turn, Vexthal said. Jake stepped up to the weights. The smallest one was still twice what he could normally lift. He grabbed it with both hands and pulled. His muscles burned, but he got it off the ground. It was not impressive compared to the other aliens, but he did it. Amy tried next. She was smaller than Jake, but she lifted the weight too. Then Pete and Kelly and all the others. None of them lifted as much as the big aliens, but they all finished the test. Interesting, Vexthal said. You are weak, but you do not give up. The second test was speed. The Nithari ran through an obstacle course faster than Jake could see. They jumped over walls, crawled under barriers, and swung from ropes like they were flying. When the humans tried, they were much slower. But they finished the course. Every single one of them made it to the end, even when they fell down or got stuck. Captain Rick Thompson was the oldest human there. He was 45 and had gray hair. The obstacle course was very hard for him. He fell 3 times and cut his hand on a sharp edge. But he kept going until he crossed the finish line. You are slow, the Nithari instructor said, but you do not quit. The third test was endurance. Everyone had to run 20 miles in the hot sun. The Krillians were fast at first, but got tired quickly. Their heavy armor made them slow down. The Gorlaxians were strong, but they were not built for long runs. After 10 miles, many of them were breathing hard. The Nithari were still fast, but Jake noticed something. They ran the same speed the whole time. They did not change their pace when the ground got rocky or when they had to run uphill. The humans started slow. They were the last ones at the beginning, but they kept the same steady pace. When the ground got hard, they adjusted. When they got tired, they slowed down a little but never stopped. By mile 15, the humans were passing other aliens. The Gorlaxians were walking now. Some of the Krillians had quit. Only the fastest Nethari were still ahead. Jake ran next to Tony Martinez. Both of them were breathing hard, but they kept going. My grandfather ran marathons, Tony said between breaths. He told me the secret was to never stop moving forward. At mile 18, Jake was running next to a Nethari. The alien looked surprised. "How are you still running?" it asked. "Humans do not know how to quit," Jake said. When they crossed the finish line, half the humans were in the top 10. The other half were not far behind. All 12 humans finished the race. Not all the other aliens did. Vexthel was waiting at the finish line. He looked confused. "This is unexpected," he said to the other instructors. "The humans are not the fastest or the strongest, but they are persistent." The fourth test was problem-solving. Each group had to figure out how to get across a deep pit using only rope and metal bars. The Gorlaxians tried to use their strength to bend the bars into a bridge. It did not work. The Krillians tried to throw the bars across the pit. They were too heavy and fell into the hole. The Nithari were smart and fast. They made a complex system of ropes and pulleys. It worked, but it took them 2 hours to build. The humans looked at the problem differently. Kelly had an idea. "What? If we do not try to build a bridge? What if we just make a way to swing across?" They tied the ropes together and made a simple swing. It was not fancy, but it worked. All 12 humans got across the pit in 30 minutes. "Clever," Vexthel said. "You found the easy solution while others made it complicated." The week continued. With more tests, combat training with weapons, survival exercises in the desert, strategy games with complex rules. Every time the humans surprised everyone. They were not the best at any single thing, but they were good enough at everything. When other aliens gave up, the humans kept trying. When the tests got harder, the humans got more creative. Sergeant Kate Phillips noticed something important. "Look at the other aliens," she told Jake during a break. "The Gorlaxians only do well at strength tests. The Nithari only do well at speed tests. The Krillians only do well at fighting tests. But we do okay at all of them." Jake realized she was right. The other aliens were specialists. They were amazing at one thing but struggled with everything else. Humans were generalists. They could adapt to any situation. On the 7th day, Vexthel called all the trainees together. "This week has been educational," he said. "We have learned much about all our species." He looked at the humans. "You are weak by our standards. You are slow by our standards. You are not as smart as some species, but you have something we did." "Not expect? What is that, sir?" Jake asked. "You never give up. When others see a wall, you find a way around it. When others see a problem, you find a solution. When others quit, you keep going." The other aliens looked at the humans with new respect. They had started the week thinking humans were like toys. Now they were not so sure. "Next week," Vexthel announced, "we will test your true limits. We will see what humans are really made of." Jake smiled. He was looking forward to it. 3 weeks had passed since the humans arrived at the academy. Jake was getting stronger and faster, but he was still much weaker than the other aliens. The Zephyrian instructors seemed puzzled by the human performance. Instructor Vexthel called the humans to a special meeting. His crystal skin was glowing brighter than usual, which meant he was excited about something. "Humans," he said, "you have shown interesting abilities. You adapt to new situations quickly. You solve problems in ways we do not expect, but we must test your true limits." Jake felt his stomach tighten. The training so far had been hard enough. What could be worse? "We have a new exercise," Vexthel continued. "It is called Predator Evasion. You will be dropped into a hostile environment. Our combat drones will hunt you. Your job is to survive." Amy Rodriguez raised her hand. "How long does this exercise usually last?" "Most species last 4 to 6 hours, Vexthel said. "The longest any trainee has survived is 8 hours. That was a Nethari who was very good at hiding." The combat drones were black metal machines about the size of large dogs. They had sensors that could detect heat, movement, and sound. They were programmed with hunting patterns from dozens of alien species. Jake watched them during a demonstration. They moved like deadly spiders, silent and fast. "These machines are designed to hunt the strongest and fastest aliens in the galaxy," Vexthel explained. "They expect their prey to either run very fast or fight with great strength. They have never hunted humans before. The exercise would take place in a canyon system 20 miles from the academy. The terrain was rough with caves, cliffs, and narrow passages. There were places to hide, but the drones knew all of them. Jake was paired with Tony Martinez. They were given basic equipment, water, a small amount of food, and a simple radio. No weapons. No armor, just their minds and bodies. "This is crazy," Tony whispered as they were loaded into the transport ship. "Those drones are built to hunt aliens that could tear us apart with their bare hands." "Maybe that is our advantage," Jake said. "They are programmed to hunt creatures that are stronger and faster than us. They might not know how to hunt something weaker." The transport dropped them at the edge of the canyon. The ground was red rock and sand. The sun was hot and there was no shade. Jake could already hear the low humming sound of the drones powering up. 6 hours, Tony said. "We just have to survive 6 hours." "No," Jake said. "We have to survive as long as possible. Let's show them what humans can really do." The first drone appeared after 10 minutes. It was scanning the area with red laser beams. Jake and Tony hid behind a large boulder. The drone moved past them, following a pattern that seemed designed to flush out fast-moving prey. "It is hunting like we would run," Jake realized. "But what if we do not run?" They moved very slowly from rock to rock. The drone was designed to detect quick movement, but slow, careful movement seemed to confuse it. They made it to a narrow canyon without being spotted. Other human teams were having similar success. Jake could hear the drones becoming more aggressive as they failed to find their targets. The machines were programmed to escalate their hunting when prey proved elusive. By the second hour, Jake and Tony had reached a network of caves. They could hear drones searching outside, but the machines seemed reluctant to enter the narrow spaces. Jake realized why. "They are programmed to hunt big aliens," he told Tony. "Big aliens cannot fit in small spaces, so the drones do not look in places where their usual prey cannot go." They spent the next 2 hours moving through spaces that were too small for Gorlaxians or Krillians. The drones flew overhead but never found them. At the 4-hour mark, Jake heard his radio crackle. It was Kelly Green. "All teams report in. How is everyone doing?" One by one, the human teams checked in. All 12 were still active. Jake could hear surprise in Vextel's voice over the radio channel. "This is unexpected. No species has ever had all teams active at the 4-hour mark." "What now?" Tony asked. Jake thought about it. "Now we get creative." The drones were getting frustrated. Jake could tell because they were making more noise and moving less carefully. They had been programmed to find their prey quickly, and the long hunt was making them act more aggressively. Jake had an idea. What if we turn the hunters into the hunted? They began leaving false trails. Jake would run in one direction, making noise and disturbing the sand. Then he would double back and hide while Tony did the same thing in another direction. The drones would follow the trails and find nothing. Soon, the machines were chasing false leads all over the canyon. Jake and Tony were leading them in circles, wasting their time and energy. At the 6-hour mark, the exercise was supposed to end, but the instructors did not call it off. Jake realized they were curious to see how long the humans could last. By the 8th hour, Jake and Tony had developed a game. They would get a drone's attention, lead it on a chase, then disappear into a hiding spot they had prepared earlier. The drone would search for them while they snuck around behind it. "This is actually fun," Tony said during a break. "It is like playing hide-and-seek with robots." At the 10th hour, Jake heard something new on the radio. It was Pete Williams. "I think I figured out how to hack their communication system." Pete had been watching the drones carefully. He noticed they shared information with each other through radio signals. If he could interfere with those signals, he could confuse them even more. "Do it," Jake said. Soon, the drones were getting false information about human locations. They would rush to empty areas while the humans moved freely in other directions. The hunters had become the hunted. At the 12-hour mark, Vextel's voice came over the radio. "This exercise has exceeded all expectations. We are calling it off." "Wait," Jake said. "We are not tired yet. Can we keep going?" There was a long Pause, then Vexel said, "If you wish to continue, you may. But this is no longer a test. This is a learning experience for us." Jake looked at Tony. Both of them were dirty and tired, but they were also excited. They had turned a survival exercise into a game of strategy. "Let's keep going," Tony said. "I want to see how long we can last." When the transport finally came to pick them up, Jake and Tony had been evading the drones for 14 hours. So had most of the other human teams. The drones had been completely outsmarted by creatures they had been designed to easily capture. As they flew back to the academy, Jake could see other alien trainees watching them with new respect. The humans had done something that had never been done before. "How did you do it?" Vexel asked. Jake thought about how to explain it. "We did not try to be stronger or faster than the drones, we just tried to be smarter. We used our weaknesses as strengths." Vexel's crystal skin was glowing very brightly now. "Fascinating, you have taught us something important today." "What is that?" Jake asked. "That sometimes the best way to win is not to play the game the way everyone else plays it." The news of the human success in predator evasion spread through the academy like wildfire. Jake could feel the other alien trainees watching him and his fellow humans with new eyes. The Gorlexians who had laughed at them now nodded with respect. The Nethari asked questions about human tactics. Instructor Vexel called a special meeting with all the academy instructors. Jake saw them through the glass walls of the conference room, their crystal bodies glowing as they talked excitedly. He had never seen Zephyrians so animated before. After 2 hours, Vexel came to find the humans. They were in the training yard, practicing combat moves. The other species were working hard, but they kept glancing at the humans. "Humans," Vexel said, "please come with me. We need to discuss what happened yesterday." He led them to a private room Jake had never seen before. The walls were covered with pictures and data from 3,000 years of training. There were images of hundreds of different alien species, all the warriors who had trained at the academy. "In 3,000 years," Vexel began, "we have trained over 50 different species. Each one has special abilities. The Gorlaxians are incredibly strong. The Nethari are amazingly fast. The Krillians are nearly indestructible. But yesterday, you did something none of them have ever done." Amy Rodriguez leaned forward. "What do?" "You mean, you lasted 14 hours in an exercise designed to last 6 hours maximum? More importantly, you did not just survive, you controlled the exercise. You turned the hunters into the hunted." Dr. Nina Foster, the team scientist, had been taking notes about everything they experienced. "Sir, I think our success comes from how humans evolved. We are not the strongest or fastest animals on Earth. We survived by being smart and never giving up." Jake nodded. "My grandfather used to hunt deer. He said the secret was not to be faster than the deer. The secret was to be more patient. Humans can walk for days following an animal until it gets tired." Persistence hunting," Nina explained. "Humans are built to outlast our prey, not overpower it." Vexel's crystal skin was glowing bright blue. "This explains much. You do not try to win quickly. You try to win eventually. We also use tools," Pete Williams added. "When we cannot do something with our bodies, we find another way. We make the environment work for us." "And we work together," Kelly Green said. "One human might not be strong, but 12 humans can solve almost any problem." The real test came 3 days later. The Academy's final exercise was called the Great War Game. All the trainees would be divided into 2 armies. They would fight a simulated war using the entire planet as a battlefield. The humans were assigned to the Blue Army along with half of the other species. The Red Army had the other half. The war game was supposed to last 3 days. The army that controlled the most territory at the end would win. Captain Steve Morrison had arrived with the second group of human trainees. He was Jake's older brother and a military strategist. He studied the battle plans with Jake and the other humans. "Look at this," Steve said, pointing to a map. "The Red Army has more Gorlaxians and Krillians. They are stronger. The Blue Army has more Nethari. They are faster. But the game is designed like a traditional war." "What do you mean?" Tony asked. Both sides will try to control territory by fighting big battles. Whoever has the strongest army will win. But what if we do not fight big battles? Jake understood immediately. What if we fight a different kind of war? The war game began at dawn. The Red Army and Blue Army faced each other across a vast desert. The traditional strategy was to advance across the desert and fight for control of the cities and resources, but the humans had a different plan. While the main armies clashed in the desert, the humans split into small groups. They moved around the edges of the battle, far from the fighting. Their job was not to win battles. Their job was to make the war too expensive for the enemy to continue. Jake's team found a Red Army supply depot. Instead of attacking it directly, they sabotaged the vehicles. The supplies were still there, but the Red Army could not transport them to their soldiers. Amy's team found a communications tower. They did not destroy it. Instead, they hacked into it and began sending false orders to Red Army units. Soon, Red Army soldiers were marching in the wrong directions. Pete's team found a power plant that supplied energy to Red Army bases. They did not blow it up, they just turned it off. The Red Army bases lost power but could not figure out why. Kelly's team intercepted Red Army radio communications. They learned the enemy's plans before the battles even started. The Blue Army always knew where the Red Army was going to attack. On the second day, the Red Army was winning all the big battles. They controlled more territory and had destroyed more enemy units. But their supply lines were failing. Their communications were chaos. Their soldiers were tired and confused. The Red Army commanders could not understand what was happening. They were winning every fight, but they were losing the war. Steve Morrison coordinated the human strategy from a hidden command post. He had studied every human war in history. He knew that the side with the best logistics usually won, not the side with the strongest soldiers. "We are not trying to destroy their army," he explained to the other Blue Army commanders. "We are trying to make their army destroy itself." By the third day, the Red Army was in complete chaos. They controlled the battlefield, but they could not control anything else. Their supply lines were cut. Their communications were jammed. Their soldiers were exhausted from chasing ghosts. The Blue Army had not won any major battles, but they had made victory impossible for the Red Army. When the war game ended, the judges had a problem. By traditional scoring, the Red Army should have won. They had captured more territory and destroyed more enemy units, but their army was no longer functional. The Blue Army had lost most of the battles, but they still had a working military force. "This is unprecedented," announced the head judge. "We must determine new criteria for victory." Vexthel stood up. "The humans have shown us something important. Victory is not always about being the strongest. Sometimes victory is about making your enemy weaker." Jake felt proud, but also tired. The war game had been exhausting. Fighting a conventional war would have been easier than the constant planning and sneaking they had done. "You fought a war of attrition," Vexthel continued. "You made the cost of victory too high for your enemy to pay. This is a strategy we have never seen before." Steve Morrison smiled. "On Earth, we call it asymmetric warfare. When you cannot win a fair fight, you change the rules of the fight." The other alien trainees looked confused. They had been trained to think of war as a contest of strength versus strength. The idea of winning by making the enemy lose was completely new to them. "You have taught us that there are many ways to win," Vexthel said. "Not all of them involve being the strongest or fastest. Some of them involve being the smartest and most persistent." That night, Jake looked up at the alien stars. Tomorrow, they would begin the final phase of their training. He had a feeling it would be the most challenging yet. The final week of training had arrived. Jake could feel the tension in the academy. Word of human tactics had spread to other Zephyr military bases across the galaxy. High-ranking officers were coming to watch the final exercises. Instructor Vexthel seemed different too. His crystal skin glowed with colors Jake had never seen before. During morning briefings, he spoke about the humans with something that sounded like respect. "Today begins your final test," Vexthel announced to all the trainees. It is called the Trial of Honor. Each trainee will face a combat challenge designed to test everything you have learned. Jake's heart pounded. He had gotten stronger and smarter during his time at the academy, but he was still just a human. The other aliens could crush him without effort. The Trial of Honor is not about winning, Vexthal continued. It is about showing who you truly are when everything is at stake. Some of you will pass. Some will not. But all of you will learn something about yourselves. The trial took place in the Academy's main arena. Thousands of alien spectators filled the seats. Jake had never seen so many different species in one place. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others had multiple heads. A few glowed with their own light. The Gorlaxian trainees went first. They fought massive robotic opponents designed to test their strength. The fights were brutal and loud. Metal crashed against stone. The ground shook with each impact. The Nethari faced speed trials that were too fast for Jake to follow. They became blurs of motion, dodging laser beams and energy blasts that would have vaporized a human instantly. The Krillians battled armored war machines with weapons that shot explosive rounds. Their natural armor protected them, but the fights still lasted hours. Then it was time for the humans. Jake was called first. He walked into the center of the arena feeling very small. The crowd was silent. Even the other human trainees held their breath. Lieutenant Jake Morrison, Vexthal's voice echoed through the arena. You have shown unusual abilities during your training. Your trial will be unusual as well. A door opened and another Zephian entered the arena. This one was even larger than Vexthal, with crystal skin that looked like black diamond. Scars covered his body, showing where pieces of his crystal shell had been broken and regrown. This is War Commander Zexamore, Vexthal announced. He has trained warriors for 2,000 years. He has never been defeated in single combat. Jake's mouth went dry. He was supposed to fight this ancient warrior. It was impossible. One blow from those crystal fists would kill him. However, Vexthal continued, this is not a fight to the death. This is a test of courage and honor. The trial ends when one combatant can no longer continue, or when honor has been satisfied. Jake did not understand what that meant, but he stepped forward anyway. He had come too far to back down now. War Commander Zexamore spoke in a voice like grinding stone. Small human, I will give you one chance to withdraw. There is no shame in recognizing a superior opponent. Jake thought about his family back on Earth. He thought about his fellow humans watching from the stands. He thought about every human who might get a chance like this in the future. I appreciate the offer, sir, Jake said, but I did not come this far to quit now, the crowd murmured with surprise. Even the other humans looked shocked. Tony Martinez shook his head like Jake had lost his mind. Very well, Zexamore said. Begin. The war commander moved faster than Jake expected. One moment he was 10 feet away. The next he was swinging a massive crystal fist at Jake's head. Jake dove to the side, rolling across the sand. The fist missed him by inches and cracked the stone floor where he had been standing. You are quick for such a small creature, Zexamore said. But speed will not save you. For the next 10 minutes, Jake ran and dodged and rolled. He could not hurt the war commander, but he could avoid being hurt. Every time those crystal fists came down, Jake was somewhere else. The crowd began to whisper. This was not how these fights usually went. Most opponents tried to match strength with strength. Jake was doing something completely different. Stand still and fight like a warrior. Zexamore roared, I am fighting like a human. Jake shouted back. He continued to dodge and weave. Zexamore was getting frustrated. His attacks became wilder and less controlled. Jake noticed the war commander was breathing hard. Even crystal warriors could get tired. Then Jake saw his chance. Zexamore overreached with a massive swing. For just a moment, his balance was off. Jake did not try to punch or kick. Instead, he grabbed a handful of sand and threw it at the war commander's eyes. While Zexamore was blinded, Jake jumped onto his back. He grabbed the crystal ridges that ran along the alien's spine and held on tight. What are you doing, small human? Zexamore asked, spinning around trying to shake Jake off. Something unexpected. Jake said. He could not hurt the war commander with his fists. But he remembered something from his research. Zephyrian crystal armor had weak points where the plates connected. Jake found one of those points near the shoulder and pressed hard with his thumb. It was not a damaging blow. It was more like hitting a pressure point. Zexamor's left arm went numb for a few seconds. Impossible, the war commander said. How do you know our anatomy? I study my opponents, Jake said, still holding on. I learn their weaknesses. The crowd was on its feet now. No one had ever seen anything like this. A tiny human was actually controlling a fight against a legendary Zephyrian warrior. Jake held on for another minute, finding pressure points and using Zexamor's own movements against him. He could not win the fight, but he was not losing either. Finally, Zexamor stopped spinning. Enough, he said. You have shown your courage, small warrior. The trial is complete. Jake dropped to the ground, exhausted. He had not won, but he had not been defeated either. War Commander Zexamor looked down at him with something like respect. Then he did something that shocked everyone in the arena. He reached up to his own shoulder where Jake had grabbed him and broke off a small piece of his crystal armor. In Zephyrian tradition, he announced, a warrior who shows exceptional courage in battle earns the right to carry a piece of his opponent's collarbone. It is the highest honor we can give. He handed the crystal fragment to Jake. It was warm and glowed with soft blue light. You did not defeat me in combat, Zexamor said, but you defeated my expectations. You showed that victory is not always about being the strongest. Sometimes it is about being the bravest. The crowd erupted in cheers. Jake held the crystal fragment high above his head. It was small, but it represented something huge. Vextal's voice filled the arena. Let this day be remembered. The humans have shown us new ways to think about strength and courage. They have earned their place among the warriors of the galaxy. The other human trials that followed were different from Jake's. Each one was designed to test human qualities rather than alien strengths. Amy faced a medical emergency. Pete solved an engineering crisis. Kelly handled a complex communication breakdown. All of them passed. All of them earned the respect of the Academy. When the ceremony ended, Jake and his fellow humans were offered permanent positions as instructors at the Academy. They would teach other species about human tactics and strategies, but more importantly, they had opened a door. Other humans would follow. Earth would have a place in the galactic community. As Jake packed his belongings for the journey home, he looked at the crystal fragment one more time. It was proof that humans belonged here among the stars. Tony Martinez sat on the next bed, packing his own gear. So what do you think happens next? Jake smiled. I think we go home and tell everyone what we learned. Then we come back with more humans and show the galaxy what we can really do. And if they try to treat us like toys again? Jake held up the glowing crystal. Then we remind them that sometimes the smallest warriors cast the longest shadows. The transport ship that carried them home was filled with more than just 12 trained soldiers. It carried 12 ambassadors of human potential. And, in the diplomatic cases, carefully preserved, were the trophies that would forever remind the galaxy that strength comes in many forms. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not by being the strongest or fastest, but by being the most determined to never give up.